Imagine sitting in your car as a tornado whirls by. That is exactly what happened to this guy in Maryland, part of a rare tornado outbreak in an area not known for them. And that's just the half of it. Other parts of the country are still baking under extreme heat. I'm Ellison Barber in for Gadi, Schwartz, and this is Stay Tuned Now. More storms are in store for millions across the Northeast tonight. Just 24 hours since a tornado led to the death of a 2-year-old in Michigan. Authorities say it happened after a tree came crashing through the roof of a home, landing on a bed where the little boy and his mom were sleeping. The mother is now in critical condition. Several people were also hurt in Maryland and Ohio. The majority of last night's tornado reports were in Maryland, an event that caught a lot of people off guard.
First time I've seen a tornado.
There's two.
There's two of them. Looks like two of them.
Twins.
And then there's the heat that's been simmering parts of California and the Southwest, putting nearly 30 million people under heat advisories and warnings today. But not everyone adhered to those warnings. Earlier, at an outdoor Trump rally, firefighters in Phoenix, Arizona took 11 people suffering from heat exhaustion to local hospitals. Our team is covering the severe weather hitting coast to coast. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns is standing by with the forecast. Liz Schwartz is in Phoenix, Arizona. But first, let's go to NBC News correspondent Aaron McLaughlin in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Aaron, talk to us about what you are seeing there. What is the damage like in the aftermath of those reported tornadoes?
Well, Ellison, a number of homes were damaged in this area, but what you see behind me really is the worst of it. You can hear that they're cleaning this whole thing up. This is the home of Martin Perez. At 7:30 p.m. last night, the tornado swept through this area, sending a tree directly into his home, trapping him and 4 other family members, including his wife. His wife's still in the hospital. Thankfully, though, everyone survived. They all agree it could have been so much worse. And the residents in this area, because it's so unusual to see a tornado, especially this time of year, they're shocked and extremely concerned, Ellison.
So what do they do in the coming days other than just try and clean up? Are they getting help as quickly as they need?
Well, you know, I spoke to some residents who say they really want to know concrete steps, things to do if this should happen in the future. I was speaking to a neighbor who lives not far from here. She described the harrowing moments when she heard the wind whipping outside. She was home with her little baby, Teddy, and they didn't know what to do. Take a listen.
It started windy, everything was flying around our backyard. And next thing we knew, like, we opened the front door to see what happened, and we saw the tree next to our house was like in the middle of the house in our neighbor. So I got like really scared. We don't really know what to do. Yeah,
because this is so unusual.
Yeah, it's very unusual. I think I've never seen a tornado before.
Something that we're hearing not just here, but also across the country as we're seeing more and more of these extreme weather events. How do people prepare, and what can they expect to happen next, Allison?
Yeah, really important conversations there. Aaron McLaughlin in Gaithersburg, Maryland. Thank you. We're going to turn now to the latest on that excessive heat in the Southwest. NBC News correspondent Liz Schwartz is outside of a cooling center in Phoenix, Arizona, with more. Hey, Liz.
Well, hey, Ellison, we're here in Phoenix right now outside of a cooling center here. This is a library turned into a place for folks to come and get some air conditioning, some water to cool off from these triple-digit temperatures. This one's open 24/7. There's several cooling centers right now open throughout the city at senior centers, recreation centers. This comes after last year's heat wave where 645 people died from heat-related complications here in Maricopa County. And that is a big concern as we head into the summer. Across the region, some 27 million people right now are under some kind of heat alert, from California to Nevada, Texas, here in Arizona as well. It's a big concern for folks, and this all comes as a new study has been released, a climate study saying that the last 12 months on Earth have been the hottest 12 consecutive months ever on record. So a really stunning moment that we've met, and the UN Secretary General saying this week about that study that Earth is heading toward a potentially climate hell. So a big concern globally and here in Phoenix, where it's this hot this early in the year. The excessive heat warning in effect right now, coming nearly a month earlier than it did last year. Ellison.
Liz Kreutz, thank you. Let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns now. Bill, opposite sides of the country seeing drastically different weather events. Is it normal for the weather to be this volatile, if you will? I know that's a hard term to say.
We always get that transition period because eventually summer is going to take over and it's got to kick spring out. And that's when you actually can get this volatile weather. And it shifts further north. So early in the spring, we see a lot of severe weather, in the southern half of the country. And then as we head towards summer, it goes north. And that's what happened yesterday. I mean, we had 22 tornado reports on a day that was only a 1 out of 5. That's the level of severe risk we had. So this was pretty unexpected. A lot of the tornadoes were the weaker variety. But still, if they hit areas with trees and population centers, we get like the fatality we had yesterday and the injuries in Michigan and the injuries in Maryland. So this evening, we have had a severe thunderstorm watch for some of the same areas that saw the severe weather yesterday, from D.C. to Baltimore. We haven't had anything too bad. We had about a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust in Annapolis. That was about it. We were watching these storms exiting the coast. Further to the south, we've had probably the worst weather in the country over the last hour, just outside and around the Orlando areas. This is Orlando here. This is I-4. And look at all the lightning strikes, just hundreds of them in the last half hour or so. This storm is finally beginning to weaken, but definitely some wind damage and probably some power outages from those lightning strikes. In the west, it's just been brutally hot. We've showed you. Today's the peak, along with tomorrow. Then we cool it off this weekend. Still about 30 million people. And let's see who's broken our record high so far today. It looks like Phoenix, you've done it. 113 now. Vegas, you've broken your record high. Reno broke the record high. Fresno tied it. Amarillo tied your record high. You get the idea. I mean, it's just brutally hot for this time of year, and tomorrow we're going to do it all over again. Allison, over the weekend is when things will slowly get back to normal. Okay, so what will that look like as we take this turn to a little
That's what
not
so hot?
Everyone wants to know. It's like, is this going to be a pattern that's going to stick? So let's first get into the weekend temperatures for the people being affected the worst. So hot is hot in Phoenix this time of year, but you're back to like 106, 105, which is close to where you should be. Other areas, we're not going to see as much severe weather. As we start to get more into June and July, we just get the daily thunderstorms, we get the lightning problems. We stop seeing the tornadoes as much. And this upcoming weekend, we don't really track a lot of severe weather, so that's good. And then the big pattern change is going to happen, it looks like, as we head towards Father's Day weekend. So this is June 14th through the 20th, and everything switches. The West Coast actually gets cooler than average, especially the Pacific Northwest. And then a big heat dome and ridge looks like it's going to build over the middle of the country. I'm already telling a lot of people, if they have Father's Day plans in the eastern half of the country, Father's Day weekend looks toasty. Pool, beach. We'll talk more about that in the days ahead.
Pool sounds good. I think most dads like that.
Pool, beach, lake. Yeah, find somewhere cool.
So, all right, good advice. Bill Cairns, thank you so much. Biden's federal gun trial today, with Hallie Biden taking the stand, potentially giving the most important testimony in the case so far. Hallie Biden is the widow of Hunter Biden's brother, Beau Biden. She would eventually use crack with Hunter as they became lovers. Hallie Biden is the one who found the gun in question and disposed of it. The case is nearing its end, with prosecutors saying they could rest tomorrow. Hunter Biden faces 3 charges tied to the possession of that gun, and if convicted, he could face a maximum sentence of 25 years behind bars. Let's bring in NBC News White House correspondent Mike Mimily. Mike, Hallie Biden's testimony, it has been talked about, wondered about all week, really, and there are some scandalous details, I suppose, but it was also very personal, very sad hearing from her. Can you talk to us about what she had to say and the mood in the courtroom as she took the stand?
Yeah, Allison, I was in the courtroom for part of this testimony. She was very nervous, clearly a difficult time for her. She offered some critical evidence for the prosecution and their case against Hunter Biden, but also revisited some of the most difficult moments for the entire Biden family. She talked about how the relationship between her and Hunter developed just within really weeks after the death of Beau Biden, her husband, Hunter's brother. And it was not long after that she discovered that Hunter Biden was abusing drugs. Not long after that she herself admitted that she herself would join Hunter from time to time in smoking crack cocaine. So she said she was embarrassed. She said she was ashamed about this period of her life. She also described her reaction when she found the gun in Hunter's car. She said she panicked. She went to the supermarket, threw it out. She recognizes now that was a mistake, but that she was concerned about Hunter's safety. But really why she was so critical to the prosecution's case is that we've seen over the last several days mountains of evidence that really do show Hunter Biden's the depths of his addiction. But we hadn't seen it at the critical moment, the October 12th timeline when he purchased that gun. She was able to walk the prosecution through text messages she exchanged with Hunter at the time, where she was asking where he was. In one of those messages, he said that he was sleeping on a car smoking crack on the street in downtown Wilmington. In another text the day after he bought that gun, he said he was meeting a drug dealer named Mookie to get some crack cocaine. So that could be the bombshell evidence that the prosecution has been looking for. Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden's attorney, during cross-examination, really did walk her through the fact that she has admitted he at times lied to her about where he was and what he was doing over text message to try to cast doubt about whether he was being truthful in what he said he was doing on those days, Allison.
And we mentioned, Mike, that the prosecution has said they could potentially rest their case soon. Do we think they will rest their case tomorrow? And if they don't, what would tomorrow look like?
So we heard after Hallie Biden's testimony today from a series of technical witnesses, also some of the state troopers who were involved in recovering that weapon and were part of the investigation. They have a few more details to run through tomorrow with some of those witnesses. And then it goes to the defense attorney, Abby Lowell. He indicated he only has a handful of witnesses, maybe up to 3. We understand that one of them may be Naomi Biden, Hunter Biden's eldest daughter. That speaks to the need for maybe some character witnesses here. And just a remarkable moment as we talk about the impact on the family here. We have been talking about how First Lady Jill Biden was attending the first 3 days of this trial. We know she was overseas today in France, part of the D-Day commemorations. Well, late tonight we learned that she's coming back across the Atlantic yet again to attend potentially tomorrow's hearing, before then flying back to Paris for the state dinner that President Biden and her will attend Saturday night.
Mike Mimily in Wilmington, Delaware. Thank you. For more on this, let's bring in NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Danny, this was an incredibly emotional day in court, as we just heard from Mike's reporting there, with Hallie Biden taking the stand. A lot of attention on her. What was your take on today's proceedings and her testimony in particular?
She's the key witness for the prosecution, but at the same time, the defense did score some points in questioning her memory. And it really raises an interesting question about the burden of proof. This is a crime that is not often charged. Unlawful possession, this statute is charged all the time, but it's usually in the context of felons. That's usually pretty easy to prove. But it's proving that someone is an addict or an unlawful user. And what you're seeing here is something you don't see that often. You very rarely see these kinds of charges, especially as the lead charge, when you're talking about this particular section where somebody's an addict or an unlawful user of drugs. Now the trial has become more about proving that Hunter Biden was a drug addict. And even in drug cases, drug and gun cases that I handle, rarely does the prosecution focus on whether or not the defendant is an addict. It's about whether they possess drugs, had drugs, bought drugs. But the issue of being an addict doesn't come up that often. So it's very interesting that the prosecution here has to prove the element of addiction. And it's interesting how the defense is focused on, well, I may have been, generally speaking, an addict at some point, but not on these particular days.
Yeah, talk to us a little more about that, because ultimately what they're trying to, or what a jury has to decide here, is whether or not Hunter Biden intentionally lied on that form that he filled out to get this weapon, right? And the defense has made the argument of saying, yes, he was a drug addict, he was a drug user, but he was in recovery at the time he signed those documents. How do jurors get told to look at intent in a case like this? Because we have seen, right, that so many of these jurors, when they were going through jury selection, over 60 random people pulled together, more than 24 of them said they had some sort of experience in their personal life with someone close to them or someone they knew having a substance abuse issue. Most of those people would probably know that recovery is not always linear and that it is possible in some world, right, where someone could have been recovered for a day or trying to be on this road to recovery in that moment and then relapse pretty quickly.
Yeah, you've seized on the issue. There is a statutory definition of addict, but let's face it, everybody has a different definition of addict. Different people within the same family will have a different definition of addict. And I say that because everybody out there has a friend or a family member or knows of someone who has a different view of their own substance abuse problem than the other people around them. So it goes to the issue of who determines who is an addict. Does anyone really know when they themselves are an addict, such that they're either lying on a Form 4473, a firearm form, or they're possessing a gun? Maybe they don't believe that they're an addict. Maybe like Hunter Biden, they believed, I've been sober 11 days, I'm starting a new lease on life, I am clean and sober, and therefore I am not an addict or an unlawful user. Now, that's not really been the evidence in this case. It seems like there's been some consistent drug use. So the key for the defense is to concede that and say, okay, he may have used a lot of crack, but on these particular days and at these times, he didn't believe he was an addict and he was not an unlawful user.
And very quickly, is there any scenario here where the jury could come back with some sort of verdict that isn't just guilty or not guilty? Could they go to lesser charges or something like that here?
They could hang here, and there really aren't lesser. There isn't a lesser charge option, but they could hang here. But I don't see that as likely. I see this as a very clear decision, one way or another. In other words, the main decision they're going to have to decide in that jury room is was he aware or did he believe at the time that he was an addict? And that's pretty much it.
All right. NBC legal analyst Danny Savalos, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Don't go anywhere because we are just getting started. Up next, 2024 will see more people vote around the world than ever before. So what does that mean for the future of diplomacy and our own presidential election in November? And speaking of that election, immigration is still a major hot button issue. NBC's David Noriega takes the pulse of voters in Arizona tonight. And later this hour, how AI is helping stroke survivors communicate in both English and Spanish. Dr. Akshay Syal will break down this amazing breakthrough in tonight's Future of Everything. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Let's take a quick look around the world. 4 people are dead and at least 20 others hurt after a train crashed in the Czech Republic. It happened overnight as a passenger train carrying almost 380 people collided with a freight train. Right now, it's unclear what caused the collision, but officials say the passenger train failed to stop at a red light. An investigation there could take months. Sudanese paramilitary rapid support forces allegedly attacked a central Sudan village and killed more than 100 people. That's according to the country's military. It's said to be the largest attack carried out by RSF soldiers who've been targeting small villages ever since the group took control of Wad Madani. The United Nations top Sudan official has called for an investigation. Meanwhile, the Sudanese army says it plans to deliver a, quote, harsh response. Over to Santiago, Chile now, where more than 400,000 people were left without power. Electricity providers there rushed to restore service this morning after a tree fell on a transmission tower, damaging it pretty badly. About 10% of the Chilean capital's power demand was in the dark, but it was restored hours later. And the city of Paris is transforming itself for the upcoming Summer Olympic Games. But there's also been some changes done to its transit system, making the city greener. Streets have been shut down for cars and parking spaces have been removed to make way for more biking lanes. The payoff? Paris has experienced a dramatic 40% decline in air pollution. Now to some breaking news. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be addressing the U.S. Congress on July 24th. Several Democrats have already indicated that they will be boycotting his speech over his handling of the situation in Gaza, where just last night an Israeli airstrike hit a UN school, killing dozens, including women and children. Israeli military officials calling the strike, quote, a precise attack, alleging that a Hamas compound was embedded within that school. But the UN, they said they could not cannot verify claims that armed groups were indeed inside. The attack comes as the Israeli military is starting new operations in the area as they face growing global backlash. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez has more.
Israel is today facing tough questions over a deadly airstrike it carried out at a UN school in central Gaza. The Israeli military says it was targeting Hamas operatives, some of whom directly took part in the October 7th terror attack, who were hiding inside that school. It says it precisely struck 2 classrooms where they were hiding. But these schools have been a refuge for Palestinian families throughout this war, and it is now clear that a number of innocent people were killed in this Israeli strike. A nearby hospital says of the 40 or so people killed, more than half of them were women and children. Our team in Gaza was in the emergency room as these dazed, bloodied, wounded kids were being brought in for treatment. Now, the Israeli military says it twice delayed carrying out this strike to reduce civilian casualties. It says it took other measures to reduce civilian harm, including reconnaissance flights shortly before the attack. But a leading Israeli human rights group, B'Tselem, is saying today that while it would be illegal, a violation of the rules of war, for Hamas to have planned military operations out of that school, it would not justify Israel carrying out a strike on a protected facility where so many civilians were sheltering. Now, all of this just underscores the fierce urgency of the White House's push to get to a ceasefire, to get to a deal, to free the hostages. President Biden and 16 other world leaders today releasing a joint statement calling on Hamas to accept the ceasefire proposal that is on the table. Hamas has not formally responded to that proposal, which they've had for about a week now, but they are saying that they want guarantees that the Israeli government is committed to ending the war and to withdrawing its forces from Gaza, something that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has so far refused to publicly say he will do until Hamas is destroyed. Back to you.
Raf Sanchez in Tel Aviv, thank you. Here in the U.S., we're all gearing up for the likely rematch between Presidents Biden and Trump in November, right? But at some point this year, roughly 4 billion people in dozens of countries will head to the polls as well. It's the most of any year on record. And just this week, 3 major countries had historic elections. India's prime minister won a 3rd term, but his party failed to secure a majority on its own. In South Africa, the governing party received less than 50% of the vote for the first time in 30 years since the end of apartheid. And in Mexico, voters just elected the country's first female president. So what does it all mean? Let's bring in Elise Labich. She is the author of Cosmopolitics on Substack and an adjunct professor at the American University School of International Service. Elise, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm excited to talk to you about this. Let's just go like big picture here, right, and talk about the 3 countries that we just mentioned, India, South Africa, and Mexico. What do you see when you look at those 3 from sort of a bird's eye view? Is there any sort of trends that we could pick up on just those 3 elections and how they've gone?
Well, I think you could definitely take a big picture trend to see what's going on in the world. And India, I think, in South Africa really show that these parties that had this huge majority, as you say, you know, in South Africa, since 1994, the ANC has had a majority. And Prime Minister Modi in India, his party has had a huge majority for a while, and he was extremely popular. And now he's going to have to, you know, consult a lot more. And the ANC certainly is going to have to. In Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, it's an amazing historic milestone for Mexico. And I must say they're doing a much better job in terms of female representation than a lot of countries, including the U.S. I mean, whether it's in Congress or elsewhere, they have quotas that say that, you know, there should be parity with males and females in the government. But Claudia Sheinbaum really was the kind of protege of the previous president, AMLO, as he's called. And so we expect her to maybe have a different style But the policies are going to be very different, and aren't going to be much different. And I think what's really going to be interesting, particularly in the Mexican context, is it's all dependent, right, on who comes to power. I don't think either president's, whether it's President Biden or former President Trump, if he's reelected, I don't think either of those policies on immigration are going to be very popular. But if it's President Trump, I think you're really going to see a lot of tension, because Luis Amador, AMLO, was very kind of had this bromance with President Trump. But Claudia Sheinbaum is supposed to be much sterner. She was an engineer, and I think she's going to really toe the line if it is President Trump.
I'm curious what other elections you are watching, or which elections so far this year have really stood out to you. I mean, we saw Vladimir Putin in Russia sort of just sail to office again, which is what people expected. But when we look at some different studies of these 76 global elections in 2024, only 43 are expected to be free and fair, at least by some research estimates. What do you see when you look at places like Russia, or you look at what happened in Pakistan? How are we doing on the legitimacy of elections, I guess, globally?
Well, I think, obviously you have to take a country like Russia and kind of think of it as an anomaly. I think on the whole, Ellison, democracy is doing pretty well. If you see what happened in Poland, there were a lot of authoritarian tendencies from the previous government. And the Polish people kind of said, no, we don't want to go in that direction. And they moved, a little bit more towards, more of a centrist candidate. And then I think in Turkey, for instance, had the same thing as what happened in India. Erdogan, who had, a major majority for so long, lost a lot of seats. Now, these leaders that are considered authoritarian still have the majority, but now they have to really consult. And if you look at a country like India, where there's been a lot of concern about democratic backsliding, certainly in Turkey, I think that's a win for democracy. And like you said, there are elections around the world. I think in Europe, we've been really concerned about, populism and this, move to the right. We have seen that in Italy and elsewhere. But I think the concerns of really going to a hard right in Europe haven't really borne fruit. So I think it is, on the whole, I think, democracy isn't dead yet. We'll see what happens here in the United States. But I think we have a lot of reason to think that, people, if I could look at a trend, I'm saying it's not about left or right. I think this is a vote against the status quo. A lot of times they're replacing people. These countries have not delivered, particularly in the case of Modi or the ANC or Erdogan. They haven't delivered for the people. They haven't delivered in terms of economy. Inflation is very high. In South Africa, there's a lot of crime, very high unemployment. So these countries are saying, listen, we still want you to be in the government, but we need a little bit more of a check and balance.
Really interesting stuff. Elise Labott, thank you for being here. I've been a fan of your reporting for years. It is a privilege to have you on tonight. Thank you so much, Elise. We appreciate it. All right, coming up, the Gilgo Beach serial killing suspect was just charged with 2 more murders. We have those details. But first, you gotta see this. In the world of cricket, the impossible became a reality today when the U.S. cricket team beat Pakistan. The win comes after a tiebreaker between the 2 teams at the T20 World Cup in Dallas. It's the U.S. team's 2nd win during the tournament after beating Canada. It's also one of the biggest upsets in the sport's history. The U.S. now has a pretty good shot at making it to the final round. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Here are some of the stories that are happening out west. Last week, a California man was seen on surveillance footage firing a gun at passing cars in Riverside County, shooting multiple cars and wounding 2 people. One of the victims has now died. Victor Leon Hugo was a father of 4. He just finished an overnight shift and was a few minutes away from home when he was shot and killed. The shooter has now been arrested and charged with murder, as well as 10 counts of attempted murder. An Albuquerque man is facing arson charges after allegedly setting his girlfriend's home on fire. She was inside with her 4 kids during the blaze. A neighbor's security camera shows the man hopping over the fence after he set himself on fire. Thankfully, the woman and her children made it out safely. Police are still looking for the suspect. The Los Angeles Lakers are reportedly pursuing UConn's men's basketball coach Dan Hurley for their head coaching job. Hurley led his team to college basketball's first back-to-back championship in 17 years. Only 11 coaches have gone straight from the NCAA to become first-time NBA coaches over the past 30 years. More disturbing details coming out about the alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer today. Rex Heuermann was charged with 2 more murders, one dating back more than 30 years. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda has this report.
Just weeks after investigators revisited the home of the Gilgo Beach murder suspect, tonight Rex Heuermann is facing new murder charges, now accused of killing a total of 6 women over the past several decades. Prosecutors pointing to what they believe is the 60-year-old architect's planning document to methodically blueprint his kills.
Why is the planning document critical to the investigation?
This planning document crystallizes and encapsulates his intent for the commission of these murders. Namely, he intended to murder these victims every step of the way.
Unearthed in March, the document goes into excruciating detail with apparent tasks to complete before, during, and after killings. Things to remember reads, get sleep before hunt, and consider a hit to the face or neck next time. A body prep checklist includes a note to remove head and hands. Another section lists problems, citing DNA, tire marks, fingerprints, witness, and hair. It was hair recovered from the victims' bodies that prosecutors used to tie Heuermann to the murders of Sandra Castilla, killed in 1993, and Jessica Taylor in 2003. Parts of her remains were discovered within a mile of the suspect's other victims, the so-called Gilgo 4. Today, Taylor's family fighting back tears.
This year has been 21 years since she was taken from us, longer than the chance that she got to be alive.
The DA is not ruling out the possibility of more charges against Heuermann, confirming today that he is considered a suspect in a 7th killing as well. Heuermann continues to plead not guilty. Back to you.
Emily, thank you. Still to come, more than 20,000 pounds of beef is recalled because of E. coli concerns. We have those details next, so stay tuned. Welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. The Kansas City Chiefs canceled team activities today after a player reportedly had a seizure and went into cardiac arrest. According to the NFL Network, it was defensive lineman B.J. Thompson. He had a seizure, they say, during a team meeting. He's reported to be in stable condition right now. NBC News has reached out to the Chiefs for comment. Donald Trump's gun license is expected to be revoked in New York State. It's because of his felony conviction in the New York hush money trial. The NYPD said it is common to revoke a gun license post-conviction. Trump's gun license in New York City was suspended when he was indicted. A judge is ordering Steve Bannon to report to prison on July 1st. The former Trump advisor was sentenced to 4 months in prison after he refused to comply with a congressional subpoena related to January 6th. His sentence was put on hold while he appealed. An appeals court ultimately upheld Bannon's conviction, but he can still appeal the judge's new order. Over 20,000 pounds of beef products are being recalled. The USDA says South American meat Inc. products were not inspected during entry into the U.S. The recall applies to a bunch of frozen beef that was distributed in Arizona, California, Oregon, and Washington. They were all imported from Uruguay this past March, rather. So far, there has been no reports of people getting sick. The FDA is reversing its ban on Juul e-cigarettes. The agency is reviewing new court decisions and information provided by the vape company. They first ordered the company to stop selling its products back in 2022. Their nicotine products have been able to stay on shelves pending appeals. As we inch closer to November's election, immigration is one of those topics that looms large for many voters. NBC News correspondent David Noriega spent some time in a small border town in Arizona and found growing discontent among Latino voters over immigration and the border.
On Arizona's border with Mexico sits the city of Nogales, where 95% of residents have Hispanic roots, and where Republicans are hoping to capitalize on antipathy towards migrants who have recently crossed the border.
I am Mexican, 100%, but I am against all these illegals.
I see a lot of people wanting the handout instead of coming to work.
Yvette Serino comes from a prominent Democratic political family in Nogales.
We need to secure the border.
Now she's a MAGA Republican and the chairwoman of Latinos for Lake, which supports Trump ally Carrie Lake in her race for the Senate.
We're just seeing so many people from like 160 different countries that don't even speak English.
The Republicans seem to be winning the messaging war on immigration, and they're even starting to gain traction with some Latino voters, many of whom are even immigrants who were not already part of the Trump base. The question is whether they'll reach enough of them to flip swing states like Arizona back to Trump. Most Latino voters in the Southwest are Mexican Americans who have either lived in the borderlands for generations or were part of a wave of immigration that started in the 1980s. Hundreds of thousands of Arizonans live in a household where someone is undocumented. Fear that Trump will deport their loved ones still pushes many to Biden's side.
Obviously, compared to the Trump administration, Biden is better. I don't really live in that fear that I did when Trump was in office.
But this is a race with tight margins, and any erosion in support in a swing state like Arizona could be a real blow to President Biden. In a county where 60% of voters are registered Democrats, some prefer to hide their face when confessing they're switching parties. Have you always been a Republican?
No, I was the opposite, Democrat.
Ralph preferred to keep his last name a secret.
Last time I voted for Biden, I regret because he's changing everything.
So you voted for Biden, but you wish you hadn't?
Yeah, because he's failing in a lot of things. He's bringing people from all the countries around the world.
Biden recently took executive action to severely restrict asylum for migrants at the border. But it's too early to tell whether that will win over voters like retired chemical engineer Elida Carrasco. She's unhappy with Biden's handling of the border, but that doesn't translate to a vote for Trump. Do you know who you're going to vote for?
Well, one will not be Trump. I can assure you for that.
Let's bring in David Noriega now. So, David, talk to us about how both Biden and Trump have tried to campaign to these voters to try and sort of swing them their way.
Yeah, Ellison, so the Biden campaign in particular has been very aggressively ramping up its outreach to Latino voters, much more so than the Trump campaign. They say that they've spent about $25 million on Hispanic media outreach since last year. And when you talk to particularly Democrat-leaning pollsters, analysts, and so on, they caution against overstating the extent of the shift here, overstating the extent to which Latino voters are kind of drifting away from the Democrats and towards the Republicans. And there is some polling that shows that on immigration, particularly, Latino voters are still mostly aligned with Democrats, more so than Republicans. However, that used to be a really big gap between the parties among Latino voters on this issue, and that gap has definitely narrowed. There is not as much of a contrast there as there used to be. Part of that is that a lot of Latinos who live in communities with long-settled immigrant populations, particularly undocumented populations, which is true of Arizona, for example, feel frustrated at the lack of reform of a pathway to citizenship for those people, in addition to everything that's happening on the border. That is why, in a race with such tight margins, this issue really matters. And really, it's President Biden and the Democrats who have the most to lose. Allison?
David Noriega, thank you. Today, President Joe Biden joined more than 20 of the world's biggest leaders on the 80th anniversary of D-Day. The president used the moment on the shores of Normandy to urge nations to stand up to Russia as many of the leaders grapple with multiple wars. Their alliances are once again being tested.
We know the dark forces that these heroes fought against 80 years ago. They never fade. Aggression and greed, the desire to dominate and control, to change borders by force, these are perennial. The struggle between a dictatorship and freedom is unending.
pledge to remember the more than 9,000 U.S. and allied soldiers.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, you hear him a little bit there. He was also on hand afterwards. He ended up speaking with NBC nightly news anchor Lester Holt in a wide-ranging interview that touched on everything from the Israel-Hamas war to international support for Ukraine.
It certainly is a reminder of how important it is to contest aggression and to contest tyranny. We can never forget to be grateful to those men and women who gave their lives here. We can never allow the memory to fade, because if we do, I believe that we'll be headed down a very dangerous path.
You're on the European continent where war rages in Ukraine. We saw recently the U.S. Congress begin to show signs of wavering support for Ukraine. What does that portend, and what's the message to American allies?
I've seen bipartisan support for Ukraine throughout. Ukraine matters, and you've heard us say this a number of times, not just for Ukraine and not just for Europe, but it matters to the world. It certainly matters to our security. So.
But U.S. support has been incremental. Why not just untie Ukraine's hands and give them everything they believe they need to win this war?
You know, I've been in touch with my counterpart from the very beginning on a weekly basis and discussing what their needs are, what kind of training they need, what kind of weapons and munitions they need, and we provided that.
But can they win?
What we want to see at the end of the day, Lester, is a democratic, sovereign Ukraine that has the ability to defend its sovereign territory and deter aggression. And I think they can certainly be successful at that.
I also want to ask you about the situation in Israel and Gaza. You know very well what urban combat looks like. You commanded American troops in some of those very circumstances. When you look at the number of civilian deaths in Gaza, what does that tell you about the way Israel is waging this fight, and should they be doing it a different way?
Well, first of all, to the point that you made, Lester, is that this is a complex environment. You know, it's a three-dimensional fight. You know, rooftops, alleyways, tunnels underground. So very difficult. And to compound that, Hamas routinely centers itself in and amongst the civilian population, puts its command and control facilities, its logistical nodes underneath schools and hospitals. We are going to continue to provide support to Israel so it can defend itself. But number two, there are clearly ways to ensure that we're protecting the civilian population and moving the civilian population out of harm's way. And there are ways to be more precise in terms of achieving one's objectives. So I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. You can accomplish your objectives and still protect the civilian population.
And Prime Minister Netanyahu has stated his goal very clearly, that is to destroy Hamas. Putting the politics of that aside, militarily, is that even possible?
Well, Lester, as we both know, Hamas is an idea. And the way that you defeat an idea is with a better idea. And so not only do you have to defeat Hamas's military capability, but you must do the right things to provide for the civilian population so that you strip the civilian population away from Hamas.
And Mr. Secretary, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your health. I know you recently had another treatment related to your prostate cancer that required you to temporarily transfer authority. How are you doing right now, sir?
That treatment was not related to the cancer. It was something that we had planned. But to answer your question, I'm doing fine. My doctors are taking good care of me and cancer-free at this point.
So those are great words to hear, I'm sure, for you and your family. Secretary, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Safe travels.
Well, thanks, Lester. Good to talk to you.
All right, before we go, it is time for the future of everything. We've heard about AI brain implants, but what about bilingual implants? It's helping a stroke survivor turn thoughts into real words in both Spanish and English. We'll explain how it works next, so stay tuned.
Big hugs. Sunny William coming through in her blue flight suit. Oh.
and followed shortly behind by Commander of Starliner Butch Wilmore.
We can see pieces of the vehicle flying off. What a show it has been. It's been like watching Interstellar or something.
This is wild to see this, but the ship is still coming down.
The private space race heating up. Both Boeing and SpaceX celebrating big moments today on separate missions to and from space. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra is in Miami with the details. Hey, Marissa.
Hey, Ellison, a major day for rivals Boeing and SpaceX in very different ways. But let's start first with SpaceX's Starship making its 4th uncrewed test launch out of Texas this morning. This one moment brought everyone to their feet, and this was in raucous applause because this marked a major milestone moment when there was the first soft landing for the heavy booster in the ocean. Now, another moment might have been deceiving when you were watching it. This was as the rocket was returning to Earth, and you see parts of it coming apart. You see flames shooting out of it. You even see the camera lens crack at one point. They lose signal. The reason why this was such a big moment is, remember, in previous test missions, we even saw at one point the rocket exploded just minutes after liftoff. This marked the first time that the rocket returned back to Earth in a splashdown. Whatever form it was in, Ellison, this was still a major moment that was celebrated by the likes of Elon Musk, saying despite the loss of some tiles, this was still a major moment for them, for the company, for spaceflight. And NASA Administrator Bill Nelson echoing the same, because remember, this is the most powerful rocket to be developed, and NASA has tapped SpaceX's Starship to be a part of their mission to return astronauts to the moon and eventually to Mars. So that's SpaceX. Let's talk separately about Boeing's Starliner. We talked yesterday about this historic moment as Boeing finally was able to get Starliner into orbit, those astronauts making their way to the International Space Station. We saw that happened just hours ago, Ellison. You see the celebrations, the astronauts, Butch and Sunny, they're celebrating, they're dancing, they're fist pumping, because remember, this is all part of this overall mission to have an alternative to SpaceX. Because before SpaceX, it was the Russian Soyuz. Then the last 4 years, it's been SpaceX has been the only way to bring American astronauts to the International Space Station. Today, marking the first time Boeing was able to do exactly that, Ellison.
Interesting stuff, Marissa Parra. Thank you. When it comes to neural implants, the medical community has been exploring brain-computer connections for decades.
A world where electronic probes seek the wellspring of human thought and the mechanisms that control all behavior.
We have come a long way since those very early experiments. These days, companies like Neuralink, Synchron, and Paradromics, I probably mispronounced half of those, but they're all racing ahead with human trials, and scientists just achieved a major brain chip breakthrough. For the first time, they've used artificial intelligence to translate thoughts into actual words across multiple languages, all by using a tiny implant. NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Syal is in studio tonight at the big board with us. Dr. Syal, this is fascinating stuff. Can you start by just explaining what part of the brain we're talking about and how the researchers can actually use AI here to translate thoughts?
Hey, Allison, so we're always learning about the brain, right? But when it comes to speech and language processing, we think we have a pretty decent idea of what parts of the brain are involved. And we actually thought we'd show you here on the big board. So when it comes to speech and language, we're really talking about the left hemisphere for most people. You can see this area on the side of the brain here is where most of the speech and language processing happens. And for those of you out there who've had family members who maybe, they've had a stroke and they're not so good at speaking, it's because some of these areas get knocked out and they lose blood flow, and some of those neurons can actually start to die. So why do we care about this? We have this device here, and we can actually pull up a schematic of it. You can sort of see how it's helping people. But we have electrodes here, about 120 electrodes, Ellison, here in the left part of the brain, that area we just talked about. You can see they're essentially picking up a little electrical activity of the neurons in the brain, and there's a little device here that connects to another computer that's doing the AI processing and essentially trying to predict what people are trying to say, both in English and Spanish for the first time, Ellison.
Wow, how accurate are these translations?
Well, it's a good question, right? So what we think right now is this device here is about 50% accurate when you sum up both English and Spanish. But Ellison, why is this important, right? right? When we want to give people their speech back, especially bilingual patients, you don't want to just translate words. You want to give them the personality back, right? For those of you out there like myself who have bilingual parents, you know that they tend to switch a lot between two languages, and that's really what the researchers sought out to do. We actually have a video of it where you can sort of see how the patients are going between English and Spanish. You can see English here, please bring hot water. This was a video, by the way, that was posted to X by the researchers in the lab at UCSF. And a little bit later, we'll see Spanish or Espanol as well as the patients try to pick up on that, too.
Fascinating stuff. Dr. Akshay Syal, thank you so much for being here and breaking that down. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
And finally, tonight, a hero's return in Normandy during the 80th anniversary of D-Day, but not someone who was on the battlefield. 103-year-old Christian Lamb received France's highest honor for her vital role during the war. Take a look at her incredible story. Heroes in uniform, returning to Normandy, France, marking 80 years since D-Day. World leaders showing their appreciation as veterans take in the hero's welcome on the shores of Omaha Beach, where Allied forces conducted the largest naval invasion in history.
This is the day for which free people long have waited. This is D-Day.
Only men were eligible for combat at the time, but the women's branch of the UK's Royal Navy played a key role that day. Christian Lamb is 103 years old today. In her 20s, she'd moved to France for school, but decided to return home to England when she heard that war was imminent.
I always felt very strongly about France, and I really wanted anything that would help me to get the France back to the French. I wanted them to belong to each other again. It was a terrible thing to think of them being in the hands of the Germans.
Lamb went to work in a tiny office, making maps of landing places that Allied troops would need on D-Day. In her memoir, Beyond the Sea, A Wren at War, she explains how she used large maps, the kind that can only hang on walls, to create pocket-sized guides that pilots could take with them to easily identify landmarks and orient themselves from the air. They showed railways, roads, churches, and castles. Little details with an enormous impact. Her maps helped British troops navigate to their precise destinations and escape enemy fire. In the fog of war, it often takes time to make out the heroes. But now the world knows Christian Lamb.
That constant selflessness and devotion.
French President Emmanuel Macron honoring her work with a medal, France's highest honor in military and civilian life, the Legion of Honor.
We wanted to have just a special moment for you, Mrs. Lamb. You were one of those heroes in the shadows, I would say. You were not there in person, dear Christian Lamb. But you guided each step they took.
Lamb says her contribution was, quote, just part of life.
I feel very glad that I was able to do something useful for that. I don't feel that anybody owes me anything for it.
But it was so much more. Christian Lamb, officially recognized as a hero. On the ground she so diligently studied 80 years ago. That does it for us tonight. I'm Ellison Barber. We will see you tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.